Okay, continuing in Yevamos, Daf Heyamabez in the top line. We're still trying to figure out what is the source that an Aseh will be Docheh a lois Aseh. And we started with the pasuk of sha'atnez being next to the pasuk of Tzitzis. Smichus, putting them next to each other, means that we'll understand that if the only way to wear the tzitzis is with the climb, with the sha'atnez, we're going to say that Aseh Docheh Aseh, you should wear the tzitzis. The Gemara has told us that even if Rabbi Yehuda doesn't darshan smichus in the rest of the Torah, but in Devarim he will. This isn't Sefer Devarim. There are two potential ways to explain it, either through muchach or mufneh, either because he had some question. In this case, we said the question would be, why is gadil taseh written over here, put it by the Parsha and Parsha Shalach? The Gemara said that if you go with mufneh, that a different idea, that would have to be something is extra in the pasuk. We tried a number of different ways to work out something extra, and we potentially worked it out according to Tanakh Beishmal that semru pishtin, those words are extra because we can learn out from the word beged, which he learns out from the called terkula like that. From there, the Gemara said, how about if you hold like the Rabbanan that you need semru pishtin to be written because you don't have beged as a source that the sha'atnez is going to be specific to those two materials. The Gemara's tried, there's extra wording by the Metzera, Rosho, Zikano. End of the day, the Gemara said those are not good sources because you could limit those to situations where the los aseh is not shava l'chol. It's only to men, as well as maybe the Bryce of Nozer. It's something which is yeshna b'she'ela. It's able to be, it has a weakness to it that it's able to be absolved. So, and says the Gemara here, based on the top of that. That's where we pick up. Im kain. Lema, sorry, on the side of the bottom. Really, we're going to go back to the pasuk of tzitzis with the smichus to sha'anez. Now we're going to pick on other words in the pasuk to make them, maybe those words are extra. Right? The Torah should just say, make tzitzis. What do you need to say? Gadilim taselach. Make these braids, the gadilim. That's extra. The terminology of gadilim, we'll call that extra. To teach me that you're supposed to make a smichus between the pasuk of climb and the pasuk of tzitzis. Gemara says, no, it's not extra. You need the pasuk gadil to teach me how many strings am I supposed to have in my tzitzis. We have a derashah, gadil shanaim. So one gadil means a braid. So you can only make a braid with two strings. So therefore gadil is two. Gadilim is plural. Two of these braids is four. Arba. So you have four strings for your tzitzis. Say gadil, make a braid of puslo mitocha, and then the pasuk says pesil techelas. Pesil means to hang it. You hang the four strings into the bagid, and from there you come out with 8 strings. Good. So that's gadilim. So you don't have an extra word over here. Gemara says no. Imkein lemakra lo silbash sha'atnez semer upishtin yachdav lamris. Let's make an extra word on the other pasuk of the smichus. Say lo silbash sha'atnez semer pishtin. But why do you need the word yachdav? Of course, you put the semer and the pishtin together. It's saying don't wear semer pishtin. You're going to put it together. Shma minol afnuye. So that word yachdav is extra to teach me to learn the smichus. Still, vakati mivayule. No, you need the word yachdav for a different halacha. L'tokev techivos chibur u'techiva achas eno chibur. It's to teach me that in order to be sha'atnez, it needs to be that you sew in the thread 2 sewings, 2 times. But one sewing, you put a string of tzemer into a pishton cloth 1 time through with a needle. That's not called a chibur. Or in this case, the way the Gemara is expressing it is you have 2 clothing, really, one of tzemer, one of pishton, and you attach them together with 1 sewing. That would be an example where we don't call it a chibur. It's not yachdav. Yachdav implies that there's a stronger connection. So you need to have 2 techivos. Go through the needle once, go back, and it attaches it twice. So imkein left Rahman lo sil b'shemer pishin yachdav. You're right. Yachdav is not extra, but just say that. Sha'atnez lomli. Why do you need the word sha'atnez? Sha'atnez implies there's a connection here. There's a mixture. You know, tzemer fish together makes a mixture. Shema minol afnei. The word sha'atnez is there to extra to teach me to learn samichus. To which Gemara responds, "Vakati mevale." No, you need the word sha'atnez. Ad sheyehei shua tavui v'nois. The word sha'atnez is a combination of 3 words, and we learn our halachas from that. Sha'atnez is shua. Shua means to be smoothed out. Tavi is spun, the test, and the nun zayin of sha'atnez is nose. So he knows is a question what it means. Rashi says arug, woven, and Tosus in nose means like you look at your sister strings. The string, every string is really 2 at least strings or more. So that's nose. That is twisted. We call it. So we learn out that sha'atnez, from the word sha'atnez, that these materials have to be smoothed out, shavi, the semer and the pishin. The tavui have to be spun. The nose, according to Rashi, would mean those two materials that were smoothed out and spun, they were developed, right? They were processed in that way. They now have to be woven together. Let's just say, it has to be into a woven bagged. And according to Tosfos, each of those strings has to actually itself be twisted into more than one.
So it's just being that the materials being used have to be actually like viable material. They can't be raw materials that are not really suitable for weaving.
Right. Correct. Ella kula mishanes nafka. So the maskana of this whole blot and a half or more is that you're right. Sha'atnez is able to teach you two things. That word sha'atnez could teach me the halachic of shua tavinos. It could also be considered extra in order to darshan the smichos. You can learn both. And how can you do that? So just important, just a pashim shayir. So Rashi on the best side, kula mishanes nafka says, if it's only going to be used to tell me that it's extra for the smichos, then let the Torah just say lo silbash climb tzemer pishtan. Why do you need the word sha'atnez expressing it in that way? So it teaches you also to say shua tavinos. Now Rashi doesn't tell me how about the other way? Why don't we only use it for shua tavinos, which is what you would have thought the Gemara was asking? So that you need tosos, just one line of tosos here. First white line, kula mishanes nafka. So he explains. Neither siv sha'atnez v'lo chesiv klayim. We're just reading it inside. It says sha'atnez without the klayim. Shamina shua tavinos. That part we know already. Continues tosos umidlo chesiv shua tavinos. Behedya. Tosos explains. It should have said it clearly. Shua v'tavi v'nos. Why does it say it as one word? It's like not so common to have the psukim speak like that. Shamina de lafnui kasa. That's an abnormal way of speaking to teach me darshan. I mean, how often do you have in the Torah that you have a word which is expressing a few words and it's combination? Okay. You have a tota that you have, but it's very uncommon. Fine. So that's the end of the Gemara. Continuing in the Gemara. So now we have our source. This is going to mark the bookmark for that, the end bookmark for Aseh Docheh. This is, now we have a source of Aseh Docheh. Greda, but if it's a losa say by itself. Losa say sheish b'kares heiche ashkan dedacher. Going back to Gimel and Beis, where we asked that first question, why do you need the pasuk leha? Disrich leha lemisra. Why do you need the leha to aser, where you would have thought Aseh Docheh, even a lav, which is a strong lav, where there's kares that comes with it, where would be the source for that you need a leha to matter? So we're going to have a number of examples that maybe we'll learn from. Milah, right? We do bris milah even though it comes against a kares, lav. Shabbos. The pasuk in the Zuriya, there's an extra pasuk that says, the 8th day you should do milah. So this is an aseh to do bris milah. Torah tells me to do it even on Shabbos, we learn out. Even though there's a lav sheish b'kares. Verse is not a raya. Milah is not a good source to Yibum. Because you find in the parsha of Milah by Avraham Avinu 13 times says the word bris. So there's some chumrah to it. This is the covenant between Kadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. 13 times it says it. So maybe that aseh is very strict, and even though chalav sheish b'kares, how do you know that Yibum would have been doicha arayos if not for Allah? Gemara says fine. Mi Pesach, learn that from Korban Pesach. The Pesach is doche even if it's Shabbos. You do shet the Pesach when it's erev Pesach. So when Shabbos is erev Pesach. Gemara says no. Milah Pesach shekein kares. Pesach itself carries a chomer of kares. Yibum doesn't carry any chomer of kares. So yeah, the lav has kares, but Aseh also has kares. Yes, you have a source that Aseh which has kares is docha lav shish b'kares. How do you know Aseh doesn't have a kares is docha a lav shish b'kares? Which the Gemara says, I'll learn out. Mitamid, right? Every Shabbos we bring in the Beis Hamikdash to Tamidim. So it's an Aseh to bring a Tamid. There's a lav shish b'kares to do malach on Shabbos. It's docha. No, Mal Tamid Shkein Toder. There's another chomer of Tamid, an advantage a Tamid has, and that it's Toder. It's constant. It happens every day. So the Torah is saying that type of aseh doesn't stop on Shabbos. Doesn't stop even connected to lav sheish b'kares. But if you have a yibum which doesn't have that element of Toder, how do you know it's doche? So Mar said, you can't learn out from any one of them individually. Let's learn out aseh is doche lav sheish b'kares using two of the three. How taseh? So which of the two are we going to try to learn from? Milo Pesach, we try to say milah and Pesach, which don't carry each other's elements of chomer. Milah has the 13 brisos, but Pesach doesn't. Pesach has the fact that it's an aseh, sheish b'kares, but milah doesn't. Well, that's not true. Gemara responds right away. Shekein kares. Milah also does. Milah has what Pesach has. They both are saying sheish per kares. Says the Gemara, mi Pesach.
Meaning by not fulfilling the aseh, you have cars.
Correct. Both by Milah and Pesach. When it says find me Pesach for Tomid, so learn out Pesach for Tomid. So let's go through. A Pesach had the milah of it's an aseh sheish per kares. Tomid for sure doesn't have that. That's for sure. So we should say that's not a factor because Tomid doesn't have it. Learn out from Tomid. We said Tomid is Toder, Pesach is not Toder. So this would be a perfect example where each one doesn't have each other's element of chaymer, and it should be a source that what is the common denominator that causes them to be docha the lav sheish per kares? The fact that it's an aseh could be docha, even a regular aseh. So much more response shekin sorich gavoya. It's not a good raya because they do carry a common denominator that Yibon does not have. And both Pesach and Tomid are korbanos for the Beis Hamikdash. They're both gavoya. Okay, so let's try the last one. Milah and Tomid, last combination. Learn out from milah and Tomid. So speak it out. Milah has the Yugimel brisos. Tomid does not. Tomid has Toder element. Milah does not. So that should be a good common denominator of just simple aseh. Which my response, Shekein Yeshnon Lifnei Adiba. It's not a good source because both Milah and Tomid existed before Har Sinai. So there's also some element of chomer there. If they exist even before the lav sheish per kares is given at Har Sinai, maybe that aseh is more chomer.
Where do we see Tomid before?
Oh, okay, perfect. So we don't necessarily. It's really a machlok. It says the Gemara continues ve'iliba demand Amar olos shikriva Yisrael b'midbar olos Tomid haba. So it's clear in the psukim they brought olos before Har Sinai. Was that ola the Tomid or was it some other ola like a shlamim? So there's a machlokes. So exactly, if you hold like the opinion that it was not a Tomid, then we actually have our source. We should have our source at this point of milah and Tomid being a good raya. Say would have been dochel sheish per kares. But the Gemara is asking according to the shita lo shekriv Yisrael b'midbar was a Tomid. So then, what is the source? And then the Gemara says, once you bring in this point that it's before Dibur, we can really go back and use that for Pesach. Because Pesach, Milah Tomid, Pesach as well, happened in Mitzrayim. Okay. Hello. So what do you have to say? Isrich, you still need the word Aleha back on Tav Gimel Beis on the Oraysa to teach me that I say Yevamos is not Docheh Shebikaris. Because if you didn't have Aleha, Salkadai Dochamino, I would have said Tisim Kibbut Aveim, a different source. I would have learned out for Kibbut Aveim, the Tanya. You might think that if your father or mother tells you to do something against Shabbos, a malacha, it's doicha. So it says the father has to fear, a man has to fear his father and mother, and it says he has to guard Shabbos. So we learn out from the smichus here, between the hekesh, between one and the other, that they're all, both father and mother, are also obligated in Shabbos. They all also have to follow my covenant. So what does it say? It's saying that the psuks teach me straight out, you don't listen to your parents, they have to listen to me to Shabbos, they can't tell you to do milah. So my love, the amr shachot isn't the case where the father or mother is telling the child straight out, do shchita, right, which is the malach on Shabbos, do bishul, which is the malach on Shabbos. You see, it's only because the Torah emphasized a hekeshir of listen, just keep my Shabbos. If the Torah wouldn't have said that, Docheh, it would sound like it would actually be doicha.
And this works because Shabbos is kares.
So it's going up.
Correct, right. So you think, in general, it says dochel should be kares. It's specific over here is where we don't say that. Halavachi dochi. So then I guess we'll just learn one more because it's part of the sentence. Mars responds loy. No, that's not at all the case. Lav d'mechaber. So Gemara says, I could say that the case of here was not, we never thought that if the parent would tell the child to do a real malacha that has kares by Shabbos, that you're going to listen to the parent. Of course not. What was the havamina to listen to the parent that pasuk and say not to? The lav machamer. If the parent tells the child to make the animal move on Shabbos, making an animal move on Shabbos is a lav. It's a say. But it's not a malacha that has kares on Shabbos. So if you tell the child walk behind the animal, causing the animal to be uncomfortable, maybe it can move, that would be machamer, and That's a lo taseh. So there's a halachic Aseh Docheh. Of course, you would think that's the general Aseh Docheh. Listen to the parent, to which the pasuk says kibbud avim is different, because if it's a question between listening to your parent, listening to Hashem, says the pasuk, they're also chayav to listen to me. Don't listen to the parent. And that's
And then we're just going to find a different. It's going to go away from this, right?
Exactly. We're going to find other sources to pull off from.